Listen, before I even get started with this, I know many of you are going to hate having to see this mug on your screen for the next few days or over the course of the next couple of days. But because I kept telling y'all I would do updates pertaining to this case, to this story, you're going to have to see this picture more often than how I've been giving updates over the course of time because the trial has officially began. Now, let me not get completely ahead of myself and I work my way up to that. So the recent update involving the Sean Urbanski trial is one. Well, the first one was, yes, the trial was set to start this week, and it still will be. That's one of the first updates. The trial is actually starting today. I'm actually recording this story at 3:56 a.m. on December 11th, 2019. That's the first update. The second one is the jury has been selected. Now, I do not know what the makeup of the jury is. I don't know by social construct or gender what the demographics of for the jury is. I do know that when they were doing the jury selection, the people that were there was Sean Urbanski and his attorneys, the attorneys for the state, which is representative of Richard Collins III and Richard Collins III's parents. They were the ones that were inside while they were doing the jury selection. And it was almost like they were pretty much being interviewed. And what they were asking them, based on what I've heard, is that talking about, do they think race played a factor in this, basically saying, do they think this was a hate crime? And also about alcohol being involved, because Sean Urbanski's attorneys are arguing that this wasn't necessarily a hate crime, but it was just a crime of him because of him being drunk and under the influence, which that could definitely play a factor, but that still doesn't take away the fact that this was also a hate crime based on evidence that they have found surrounding around Sean Urbanski, which is evidence they're trying to use in this particular trial, in this particular case, to help with the hate crime. Now, what I also heard was that if Sean Urbanski is found guilty of the crime, the murder of Richard Collins III, he will face life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, if he gets hit with the hate crime charge and that sticks and they found him guilty of that, he will still get the life without parole without the possibility, without life in prison without the possibility of parole, and he will get additional 20 years for the hate crime charge. So what it sounds like to me is that even if he does not get hit with the hate crime charge, or the hate gets found guilty of committing a hate crime, he will still have to be in prison for life. They can find him guilty on that. So it's almost like the attorneys, whether they can argue down that he did not commit a hate crime or not, if they still found him guilty of the murder, he's still going to go to jail for life without parole. So it's almost like they're fighting an uphill battle that they probably know that they're not even going to win. And I think they probably come to terms with that. See, their only argument was that it wasn't a hate crime. They didn't say it was a murder. They're not arguing down that it was, but they want those hate crime charges not to stick, because then they know if they can get them on the hate crime, the murder one is definitely going to stick. And that's what the state is going for hard, is to prove that this was a hate crime. If they can get the hate crime to stick, the hate crime charges to stick, it's done. It's a wrap for Sean Urbanski. So that's why they're going hard for the hate crime charges. But we'll see what comes of this. But this is the most recent update. Like I said, unfortunately, you'll have to continue to see his face throughout the course of probably the next 2 weeks, because that's how long they expect the trial to be. So they probably want this thing done before the new year comes in, and I have no problem with that, especially since this thing has been prolonged for so long. And I believe that this is stressing out Richard Collins III's parents and, his family, as well as his friends and everything like that. When I was looking at the news, they said some of his friends that he went to school with was there in support of his family, which is definitely a good look, because that just shows how loved and appreciated this man was. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.